All right, guys, welcome back to Unit 1 here in World History class. We're actually going to be diving into classical Greece, and as you can see, it takes place from around 2000 BC up to about 300 BC. But let's go ahead and move on. First, we'll look at the main ideas that we're actually going to be discussing throughout this unit. So we have the power and authority, which is going to look at the Greek city-state of Athens, its new form of government that becomes developed, which is known as democracy. And this is going to allow just general citizens to exercise their power within the government. Then we have cultural interactions. There's going to be a lot of cultural interactions during this time, especially through Alexander the Great. He's the one that is really spreading the Greek culture throughout much of Asia as he starts to build his empire. And later on, we will see the Greek, Egyptian, and Asian cultures that then kind of blend into this kind of one central type of culture that is found throughout Greece, and it becomes known as the Hellenistic culture. And then we have empire building. That is, we'll look at the empire building of Greece itself, and then eventually a little bit later, we'll also look at Alexander the Great's conquest and kind of building his much, much larger empire. And then eventually leading to the fall of his empire. The terms for this unit that you're going to run into, these are your terms. And if you would like, you can write these down. You can pause the video, but I'm just going to go ahead and move on. We also have the figures for the unit. These are the people that we're actually going to be talking about, and some of them more than others just kind of a brief mention, but kind of becoming familiar with most of these figures here is going to be a key point to when it comes down to your testing and exams, essays, or whatever we're doing for the unit. And then finally, the places for the unit, again, just becoming kind of familiar with these, where they're at on a map is certainly going to help. So just to start off, here's our first map that we're taking a look at. This is the Greek city-states, roughly around 750 BC. So this is kind of the world of Greece. Greek culture is kind of spread kind of beyond this area, but the main Greek home, as you can see here, is in green. It includes a lot of kind of more familiar names, such as Athens, right, or Sparta. We're definitely going to be digging into these quite a bit, but to start off this section, we are going to be taking a look at Crete, the island of Crete down here, and its one large city of Knossos, and yes, you do pronounce the K in Knossos. We're also going to be taking a look at kind of this eastern seaboard over here, which is Anatolia, the area of Anatolia. And in Anatolia, you can actually find the city of Troy, which they don't have it marked on the map, but it's right around this zone, right up here, kind of the north end of where modern day Turkey is, along the Aegean Sea. Later on, we will be digging into, actually kind of Greece itself and looking at, the governments and the city-states of Greece and talking about that general area, and then eventually leading into our last part, which is going to talk about Macedonia up here and its influence of Greece and kind of the rest of this area, and then extending all the way over into Asia. And finally, we have our classical Greek timeline. For each of our units, I will be providing a brief timeline here, which just kind of points out some of the main things that are occurring, and it kind of gives you a breakdown of, how and where things fit in the story that we're kind of looking at. So we start off for this part 1, we're actually going to be looking at the Minoan civilization and the Mycenaeans. So we have these two, and included in that, we're also going to be taking a look at the Trojan War. Again, kind of dealing with the Mycenaeans here. And will also be one other thing that's not added in here because it takes up so much, it could take up so much room, would be the Greek myths and Greek gods, gods and goddesses and demigods and all of those. As for part 2, we're going to be taking a look at Greece itself. So we're going to be looking at the city-states or the polis. We're also going to be looking at some of the different wars that were occurring in Greece. And then part 3, we're going to be splitting off and kind of taking a look at Macedonia and its conquering of Greece and Alexander the Great, how he builds his empire, talking about Alexander, and eventually kind of the spread of that Hellenistic culture throughout the rest of the Mediterranean, at least the Eastern Mediterranean, and kind of the fall of the Greek Empire. All right, so at this point, if you can now go ahead and click on video 2, it's going to take you into part 1 of our classical Greek notes.